My name's John Prince. I'm married to Angie. We live in Renton, Washington. We have 3 daughters. I have Zoe, who's 12, going on 13. Sophia is 9, and Abigail is 6. We also have Alla, who's living with us right now. She's 19. So we live in the city of Renton, which is 20 minutes south of Seattle. And I'm one of the leaders at a church called Soma Renton. I'm involved with different aspects of our church interfacing with the city, but also with our missional community. We are reaching out to our neighborhood that surrounds us. And the city of Renton is a unique place because of its diversity. So Renton in the last 10 years has grown 169% in non-white populations, which the city of Renton historically has been just a farming sort of town, and in the last 25 years it's been basically transformed into a super diverse place. When you come into a culture, you have a perspective from your own culture, and you can make a lot of assumptions that are unhelpful in what would be helpful. And then when you try to sort of start implementing things that you think are right into a culture, it's like putting a puzzle piece in the wrong place. It just doesn't fit in the paradigm of the way that they think. And so I think my wife and I have definitely made some mistakes along those lines and learned the hard way in what it means to really reach out and try to make disciples in a diverse population where people aren't coming from the same background that we have or the same way of thinking that we have. And God's really humbled us to slow down in our arrogance, thinking that we sort of have everything figured out, and really listen to people and learn from them in the process of getting to know them and building relationships. As Jesus told us to go make disciples and teach people to observe everything he commanded, if we don't know how they think or the way that they live or the sort of rhythms of life of their culture, how are we supposed to help them observe what Jesus commanded if we don't know what their life looks like in the first place? And so we're really trying to reach out in that way. One of the other opportunities that we have as a church is that we have a building in the downtown core of Renton, which is 1 block away from Renton High School. And we're able to open up our doors during school days to allow students to come and hang out after school. So we're open from 2 to 7, 2 to 5, depending on the day. There's a couple from our church who are engaging with these students on a daily basis and really giving their lives to make disciples of these students. They're offering tutoring, music mentorship, dance. They're doing a ton of different programs for these students to really interact with them and give them a safe place to be. The downtown area of Renton, the place where we're at, is close to a transit center and some parks, and it's not a safe place for kids just to be hanging out after school. So we're giving them a place to be, and hopefully the goal would be that these students and their families are able to connect with a local church and be able to interact with the teachings of Jesus. And we get to be there on a daily basis, getting to know students, greeting them, getting to hear their stories and understand where they're coming from. My family and I have had 3 different students sort of adopted into our family who've lived with us for, one of them was a couple years, and then the next one was a year, and right now we have a 19-year-old living with us who's just sort of got out of a training program in college, and she's thinking about her next steps. And so we're able to really build relationships with people and their families, and then give students families that are in transition that need a place to be, a place to stay with us, and then they can join our family, become part of what our MC is doing, and really understand what the rhythms of the gospel are like in a normal family setting. So a couple of the things that we've seen as positive in what we've done, or fruitful practices, would be our MC, a core of our MC, decided through prayer to join the Renton Softball League, the rec league, and in that we invited people from our neighborhood and people from our lives to come and join this team and play softball together. So we play on Sunday afternoons, and it's a great shortcut to getting to know people and building relationships in a non-threatening way for people that are already sort of mistrusting and sort of nervous about interacting with church people and not knowing really what that means, and having terrible ideas about it in their heads. And so we've been able to have some of our neighbors come, some of the students from after school program come down and be part of our team and really get to know one another. And just in that way, our MC is able to build relationships with the people in our MC rather than just one person, so that people who are being discipled are sort of interacting with different facets of who Jesus is. Because I don't represent Jesus entirely, but my MC, the community that we create, can create a fuller picture of who Jesus is for somebody to see what he's like. And Jesus was clear, it's by your love for one another that people are going to know you're my disciples. So how are people going to see our love for one another unless we're sort of giving them a chance to see that? So that's one of the successes that we've had, is just finding a local rec league. Any sort of sport that you can think of, your city probably has it. And it's a great way to meet people in the city. Some of the struggles that we faced are just that, the busyness of life of people, especially when you encounter different family structures. In single parent homes, people are busy, people work a ton, and it's hard for them to be engaged outside of their work day, caring for their children. So people are super busy, and we're trying to invite people into our life to live life with us, to have meals together, to come in and recreate together. Oftentimes it's a challenge to find out when they're available, or when that would work. Some of the other struggles we have is just the level of mistrust that people have. We're all tribal people, and we sort of, by default, we distrust other tribes. And so even myself being from the majority culture in our population, I can't just assume that everybody's going to have the same assumptions and presuppositions and ideas about life that I have. I have to go in and listen and learn from people, and really take the initiative to reach out, because people are reticent to answer their door. They're reticent to build relationships. Even in a neighborhood, the struggles that we've had is really trying to break through that sort of wall that people have built up, of just being comfortable with their own little existence and their own life, and not knowing any of their neighbors. So just the busyness of life is a struggle. The mistrust that people have in our neighborhood, cross-culturally. As far as advice for people in a similar context, I would say, first of all, if you're living in the States, you're in a similar context. There are people here from every nation under the sun, and they're probably in your neighborhood, even if you haven't met them yet. So I would say take the initiative to go and explore your context and try to figure out where the other cultures hang out. You might not naturally go there, and they probably aren't naturally going to come to you. And so I believe we have the initiative from the Holy Spirit in the gospel to really seek to cross these boundaries. And Jesus said it specifically, go make disciples of all nations. It's part of our mandate as those who are making disciples, that it wouldn't just be our own culture that we're trying to reach out to, but we're trying to make disciples of all nations. And so the advice that I have would be to believe Jesus when he calls us to do that he's going to be with you, he's going to empower that, and that's actually his will. Even as we look to the end of the story and we see in Revelation people from every tribe, tongue, nation, and language before the throne of God praising Jesus. And it's not something where God sees one race. He actually names out these divisions. And so it's okay to recognize those things, but at the same time trying to build relationship across those boundaries that we've erected between people, and really finding out what people are like. So my advice would be to try to start building cross-cultural relationships, and to stick with it when people don't show up in the time that you think they should show up, or they don't call you, or they don't communicate in the same way that you do, or they want to meet at a weird restaurant, or they don't want to go to a restaurant at all, or they won't come to your house. You got to find a way to make those things work. And if you find yourself continually sort of butting your head against the wall, you might just need to humble yourself and go to the person and say, what am I doing wrong? What is it that I'm doing that's keeping you from wanting to get together? How have I offended you? Am I doing something that just makes you think that I don't care about you or I don't value your opinion? We can just do that without even thinking about it when we're part of the majority culture. We just think we're normal and we're super, and we're not. The normal culture is the kingdom culture that we're all trying to become a part of more and more. And so that kingdom culture is represented by every nation, and the gospel is the only thing we have that transcends these cultural barriers, so that our fellowship with other nations and other people can be in Christ. It won't be because of the food or the culture or the music. It'll be because we both want to follow Jesus together.